was always like a stiff fabric. It didn't have any drape. It just wasn't appealing to work with. It would hurt my hands. Hello, and welcome to my channel. This is the Autumn Acorn Knits, and my name is Judy. This is episode 59, and this channel is a place where I love to talk about all of the things that I'm knitting, crocheting, and yarn dyeing. I hope you have a nice drink and something to knit or crochet or embroider, and let's get started. I am coming to you today from my log cabin in the woods of New Hampshire. I'm going to share with you a lot of finished objects, some works in progress, some acquisitions, and some chatter. Oh, I should mention that you can find me most active on Instagram as the Autumn Acorn, and I have a website, theautumnacorn.com, and you can also find me on Patreon as the Autumn Acorn and Ravelry. All right, let's start with finished objects. So my first finished object, and by the way, it has been a couple of months since I recorded. I spent this summer doing a lot of dyeing and just a lot of work and no time for YouTube podcasts, but I'm really happy to be back. So here's the first finished object. This is a pair of my Magic Heel socks, which is a pattern that I wrote a couple years ago. It's actually my best-selling pattern, and it has helped a lot of new knitters or nervous knitters knit socks without having to worry about that pesky heel. So I'm excited about this pattern, and I think these came out very, very pretty. So I want to show you the yarn. This is some yarn that I naturally dyed, and it is, let's see, 84% superwash merino and 16% cotton, and it has some Donegal nep in it. This is a 4-ply sock yarn. I started out with 437 yards, and I was able to get this pair of socks for me, plus I knit up this cute little neck scarf with the rest of it, and I like the way that worked out in garter stitch. I think the color looks really pretty that way. But this is just a fun little neck scarf that you can, it's very stretchy, and you can just tie it, and it looks cute, right? Yeah, I really like it a lot. I think it's fun. It's got these pointy ends. You could wear it other ways if I wanted to, but I think this looks pretty cute. So anyway, after I finished knitting this, I had just this much yarn left. So this will go into my basket of scraps. I have a large basket where I just keep all of my mini skeins and any scrap yarn, especially sock yarn. So yeah. See, what other details can I tell you? This little scarf was knit with a US 4 bamboo circular needles. I just made up the pattern as I went along. So I started out with 4 stitches, and then I would increase on the second and the second to the last stitches of each row. So I would knit one, knit in front and back, knit till there were 2 stitches left, knit front and back, knit one to end. And I just kept doing that until, you know, this little arrow or this point was long enough, and then I worked straight for most of it, and then I started to decrease at the same place on the other side. So yeah, really fun, really quick. I want to say this took me an afternoon maybe to knit up, or maybe 2 afternoons, but it was really quick. I think it would make a really cute gift, and I want to have a couple of these in different colors. I love, love simple things like this, but they make a difference in an outfit. You can turn a plain white tee into something a little more beautiful. This is a knot bag that I knit and felted quite a few years ago that I really, really like, and I decided I would start using it. I was using it as a handbag, but now I'm just going to use it as a project bag instead. So the handle, just put the handle through the other side, and this was a pattern I purchased on Ravelry, and I don't remember the name. I think it's called Boho Bag, but I don't remember who wrote it, but I will leave all of the information down below where you can find all of the show notes. And I should have mentioned these were knit in size US 1 needles. I don't know what else I could say about them. They just have a basic 2x2 rib cuff, and yeah, I started top down, and then I finished off with Kitchener stitch on the toes. And they fit really snugly, which is exactly the way you want magic heel socks to fit. Speaking of which, I also knit up a pair of magic heel socks. This is another pattern that I have in my DK version, which is also textured. And I changed this up a little bit from the pattern. The pattern actually has more of the textured stitch, but I only wanted a little bit of it this time. But I love, love, love this color, this golden yellow color. I think it's so pretty. And yeah, it was nice knitting DK weight socks because, although I see where I might have made a little mistake there, but I didn't make it on this side. Interesting. Oh well, nobody's perfect. So these are really cozy and cushy. I like DK weight socks because they're faster to knit up. You can also knit these without the texture if that's not your jam. You can just do plain stockinette. You could put the texture all the way down if you really want, but I thought this was a cute version for me. So that's 2 pair Magic Heel socks, but that is not it. There is one more pair because I have designed a brand new Magic Heel sock pattern, and this is the mohair version. So it is fingering weight held double with mohair, which technically equates to a DK weight. These were knit using the acorn stitch, which I thought was quite fitting for the autumn acorn. And they do have a contrasting cuff and toe, and the magic heel, like I said. Yeah, so here they are. They're very textured, they're very fuzzy and soft and comfy and cozy, and I love them a lot. They feel great on the feet. You take one off. I still haven't wound in my ends, but I did block them so that you could see, you know, how they look. I love them. So from the front, yeah, here's my little tags, my little thread sticking out there, but from the front, this is what you would see. That beautiful acorn stitch with the eyelets. And then we have, I want to show you actually this one over here, because I didn't do that cuff correctly. The way that I intended to was I wanted the color work to kind of come down and, you know, end down here. So there's just a slight amount of color work here. But if you didn't do that, it's no big deal. It just, the pink stops higher. But I just thought having it go down, just, I don't know, it looked better. It looked like it finished off the acorn. So I thought that was really cool. And anyway, these socks are in test knitting right now. They started today. I have a huge group of testers to work on this, and it was so fun to see all of the places in the world that they're from. There are so many countries represented in this group of ladies. and it's just wonderful. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to get these out to you. This pattern will be released at the end of September, so the end of this month. So stay tuned for the Magic Heel Socks mohair version. I almost said DK because they are, but I call these my DK version. So yeah, that was exciting. I'll show you. I used, by the way, a US 2. Here are my Knitter's Pride, or these redder one, the red looking ones, and then the others are just some that I had, some bamboo ones that I had ordered. So US 2, and I used, I'll show you, here was, this is quite a bit left. Here's the main color. This was naturally dyed with a black walnut. And it is a 80/20 superwash merino nylon, 2-ply, 400 yards. But it did not take 400 yards at all. And then this is the mohair that I held double. Still a lot of that left. That was also naturally dyed by me. I love this color so much. I hope it's showing up. I just think it's so beautiful. Yep, and the pink. And I just thought they looked really nice together. Very subtle. You know, not in your face. It turned the pink just a little bit browner, which is always beautiful, I think. So yeah, I am so happy with these. These are knit top down, but easily modifiable to be knit toe up. And some of my testers have decided not to hold their fingering weight double with mohair, and instead to just use a DK weight, and some are using 2 strands of fingering, which will work just as well. So that is up to you. So stay tuned for that. I'm also, so this will be my 4th Magic Heel Sock pattern or variation on that heel, and so I decided that I want to release, kind of for the anniversary of the sock pattern, the 2-year anniversary, I want to release all of them in one PDF booklet type thing at a reduced price. So you would save quite a bit of money buying all 4 of them at once. So I thought that'd be fun to offer, and I'm hoping to add some cute graphics and just to kind of spruce up the other Magic Heel Sock patterns so that they're all very consistent across the board. So, all right, that is that, and these are in my adorable bag. I think I show this one a lot. This is by Christy Archer Designs, and I just love this bag so much. So cute with the animals, the woodland animals. All right, so next on my list, let's move on to this. Now, if you are one of my Patreon members, you've already seen a lot of these projects. There will be some things that are new to you, but I do apologize if any of this is redundant. But this definitely you saw the last time. My husband's birthday, Joe's birthday, is coming up real soon at the end of this month, and I thought I would attempt another hat for him. So I had some really pretty yarn. This started out as a bright, obnoxious green, as I call it, and I dyed over it. I think what I ended up doing is dyeing over this with black walnut and then iron water, and it came out a much better green, and one that my husband really likes. I think it reminds him of his time serving in the military, in the Army. So yeah, it's a gorgeous color. And so I found this pattern on Ravelry for a men's hat. Actually, it's not a men's hat, it's for anyone. It shows a woman, called the Vanilla Hat. And I can't read her name, but I'll be sure to put that in the show notes for you. But it is Deborah Lynch, And first let me show you the hat. Here it is. It's folded. I apologize for the crease. There we go. So yes, this was knit with a US 4 needle for the brim and then a US 5 for the rest of the hat. This is a folded under brim, which is my first time doing this, and I absolutely love the result. And I really enjoyed knitting it too. It was really fun to do this particular technique, and I just think it looks really professional. And I love that it's not too variegated, but it's just a little bit, gives it a little bit of interest and dimension. And then I have some basic decreases, 4 of them at the crown. So yeah, I guess I could try it on. Let me try it on. I have a feeling that it's going to be too big for him, but I don't know. It doesn't look great on me. It's way too big for me. But anyway, I hope he likes it, and I hope he wears it this winter. I had a little more yarn left over, so I thought I would try to make another hat, and I was hoping I'd have enough to make a size for me. And I ended up with this little beanie. Same folded under brim, same hat, only it's missing like most of its body. So yeah, it's small. Let's see if it even fits me. What do you think? Let's try to make it work here. I don't know. It's small, but what do you think? Should I maybe give it to one of my granddaughters? Try to wear it? Can I pull it off? I don't know. We could have matching hats then. That would be cute, right? Let me know what you think. It's small. Oh, I wish I had enough for 2. That would have been really nice. So I highly recommend this pattern. It's free, it's very easy to follow, and you get a great result. And if you'd like to try that, this would be the perfect time to try it. I used 3 different needles? Well, at first I did a crochet cast on because that's my new favorite cast on. And then, yep, I had 4. I had 4s and 5s, 3 different size. Basically, I had 3 different size cable needles. So these were all the tools that I needed for the job for one hat. And did I even tell you about the yarn besides what I dyed it with? I'm sorry, it was not walnut, it was birch bark. Over dyed with birch bark and iron, 100% superwash BFL, DK weight, 245 yards. So yeah, it took about all of, well, I would say 245, maybe 175 yards for this hat. That's a rough estimate. I love hats because you can just knit them so quickly. I'm so used to knitting large garments that they take weeks, and something like this was like, oh, I'm done. And he never even knew, Joe never even knew I was working on it because he was away when I did it, so that was sneaky. Okay, next finished object. Let's move on to my granddaughter Charlie's birthday dress. So, I wanted to knit her. She will be turning 5. I will be headed down to Connecticut later this week, and we're going to celebrate her birthday on Sunday. And she is a girly girl, all things princess and dress up and just very feminine, and she loves to dance. So I thought I would make her a dress up, like costume dress up dress, and that she could also dance in. So I had some beautiful sock yarn, and I wish I could tell you the name. If I find the ball band, I will let you know. I'll put it down below. But it was just a beautiful hand-dyed sock yarn that I had in my collection for a long time, that I wanted something special to use it for. And it also took, so it took the full skein of that sock yarn, and it also took 2 50-gram skeins of mohair. So it has 300 grams of yarn, no, 200 grams of yarn in it. And here it is. So I'll start by showing you the bodice. So you can see the neckline. I think I said this already, but I just made this pattern up and just figured, you know, I kept just, as I would get to a section, I'm like, oh, what would look good next? I had a general idea, though, that it would have mohair and it would be an empire waist. So yeah, it has butterfly sleeves. So they're just kind of little ruffly cap sleeves. And then it has this seed stitch faux belt in the center, which I thought was really pretty, where I combined the sock yarn with the mohair. I love that. And then I went on with this first skein. You can clearly see where that ends. So I thought one skein would be enough. I did hold it double though, so I probably should have known better. And so that's why you see this color shift, because I had to grab another skein of my hand-dyed mohair, and you know, the match wasn't perfect, but I think overall it works really well. And I think it looks better in person because that line isn't so stark. But anyway, and then at the bottom of the skirt, I just did a simple feather and fan, which I thought looked really pretty, that, you know, the way that it scallops. Here's the back. Pretty much the same, right? And then those scallops. So I hope this fits Charlie. I'm expecting that it should be quite long on her, and I just hope that she can really dance and twirl, because there's a lot of skirt there, and I think it's just going to feel good on. Now, when I showed my husband, because he had been away, he thought it looked really big for her. So what I did do was take a piece of elastic thread, and I did thread it through the waistband, on the inside obviously, and that kind of cinched it in a little bit, and I think that should help with the fit. But we'll see. I hope she loves it. I just can't wait to see her in it, and I hope it fits. I'm not great with knitting things for children's sizes. I usually would have to follow a pattern for that. So I was really just going by instinct and kind of eyeballing it. And when Joe said, I don't know, I think it's going to fit you, I'm like, oh no, he might be right. But we'll see. You cannot always tell. And this is for dress up. It's not for wearing out, so it might not matter in the end. So I do not know if this will become a pattern. Please let me know if you are interested in it, because if enough people are interested in it, I will be happy to write it up as a pattern. I would, I'd have to get it sized and everything for all the little girl sizes. Now, I don't know if I showed you this before, so forgive me if I did and I am forgetting. But this is the first prototype of a cozy cotton tee. That's what I've named it. This is my own design, but it does not look like this anymore, so I don't even know why I'm showing you, but I figured, this is knit top down. This is yoke. It has a textured yoke, which again, I knew this wasn't going to be the final end product. I just needed to get something on my needles and knit mindlessly, and this is what satisfied me. As you can see, it has just cap sleeves. I did run out of this yarn here and did not have any other in this lavender shade. And so I just added on cream, and I think it's fine. I think it worked out great. Now this sample is too big. The neck is too wide. There's a lot of things wrong with it, but I'm going to use it as a sleeping t-shirt because that's pretty much what I sleep in, are like cotton drawstring pants and cozy tees. So yeah, This is going to become a sleeping shirt, but the second iteration of this tee I think is looking better. Oh, I should have told you that this lavender yarn was dyed naturally with staghorn sumac and iron. And somehow I ended up with this really pretty color. It's blowing out a lot. It's a lot more purpley in real life. But what I was supposed to end up with was gray. And so after other attempts, I did get the gray that I wanted, and I put that one into the second prototype of the Cozy Cotton Tee, which I'll show you in a second. And this one, same yarn, and I'll tell you all about the yarn in a minute. Same yarn, but smaller, same construction, top-down yoked, but a lot of the other things about it are different. So obviously the lavender version, the neckline was just a rolled neckline, and this one is a twisted rib, which is one of my favorites. Again, I did a crochet cast on, which I think looks really neat too. And then I just did this textured stitch, which is one of my favorites. I also added this stitch to my pajama cardigan. You may remember that pattern, but it's a really cool stitch and it's really fun to do. And now I'm on Body Island, and then yeah, we'll do some sleeves, but I'm not sure how they're going to be yet, but they won't be like the others. So yeah, here's the back, same idea. And this color, this gray, which I have never been able to achieve such a pretty color gray naturally. I hope it's showing up the way that I see it. It almost looks browner. But this again was the staghorn sumac with iron, and I just was so excited to get this beautiful color. So this is coming out much better to fit me. This should fit me well compared to this one. But I wish you could feel these, because this was my first time ever working with, it's a cotton wool. It's a 70% cotton, 30% wool. It's a new base that I have, so if you're interested in it, when I do my shop update later this month, maybe you can snag a couple skeins. So yeah, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. It's a fingering weight, and that's what makes all the difference. I've only tried knitting with cotton that's like heavier weight, like, I don't know, DK worsted, and it was always like a stiff fabric. It didn't have any drape. It just wasn't appealing to work with. It would hurt my hands. This, none of that happens. None of that happens. I enjoy every single stitch of this yarn. It's delightful. I mean, you can, roll it up into practically nothing, throw it in your suitcase, and you're good to go. I'm just so happy with this yarn. So yeah, that's my Cozy Cotton Tee and my sleeping shirt. I guess I should have told you what needles I'm using. These are my Chow Goose interchangeable set US 5 3.75 millimeter. Fantastic needles. Oh, and I should have said that. I also, you probably can tell that this is a looser, yeah, you can see that that's a looser fabric than this, because I wanted that drape for this one. I just can't wait to wear this one with like jeans. I just think it's going to be so cute, practical, but pretty at the same time, like all the things. Okay, let's see, and I have just about finished my first, there's just hair on there, my first little nugget. How much hair is on here, really? There it is. And then I have another skein. So this time I planned ahead and made sure I dyed up 2 skeins for my tea. So here you can see the yarn in all of its hanked up beauty. It's a nice gray. It definitely looks a little bit purple, but then when you see it, you can tell. Well, I hope you can tell that it's gray, but it definitely has a purple kind of hue to it as well, which I love. And because I'm already loving how much fun I'm having with this project, I already know I'm going to be making a 3rd one. So I'll show you what yarn I'm going to use for that. Oh, but I have to find... Oh, where did I have this one? Huh. Oh, here we go. Okay. So the next version that I make, I want to do in this pale pink yarn. This is the same cotton wool. About 500 yards a skein, which is really nice. They're large skeins. Now this is dyed up. I wanted to show you a pretty, this has a really pretty darker section in it. Do you see that? I'm not sure if you can see that in this particular light, but it has a really pretty, like, darker section in it. Anyway, these are some pale pinks because I really love pale pink, and I think it's like, basically it's neutral, right? It matches so many things. And I know you're probably thinking, well, it looks pretty light, but compare it to the white. See? It's not white. It's like pale, very pale pink, but I love it. I dyed up quite a bit of pink. So I'll just show you a couple of them. This turned out quite bright. That's a pink. It's pretty. And then, oh, here's the one I wanted to show you. This is that one with all the beautiful variegation in it. Yes. That's the skein. I'm in love with this skein. So that's a pretty shade of pink, and you can see that they're not the same. One is cooler, more clear pink. But yeah, there's a bunch here. I won't, like I said, I won't show you all of them. They're all basically similar hues of pink. There they are. I love them all. I want to just knit something big with them all. But I can't. I cannot keep any more yarn. I cannot do it. I have a problem. Not with buying yarn necessarily, but obviously I have to buy the bases and then dye them, and I get them for a better price, but it's a problem. But speaking of which, well, when we get to acquisitions, I'll talk to you about that. We'll go on with finished projects. Let me check my list. I showed you the hats. 3 magic heel socks. Cozy cotton tee, Charlie's birthday dress, cozy cotton tee number 2. I gifted my daughter Sarah a blanket for her birthday. I'll put some footage in here of that. That was a granny stripe blanket I crocheted. She really loves it. Started learning to crochet herself, so I'm very proud. And oh, the skirt. So again, forgive my memory. I don't know if the skirt was finished the last time I saw you, but I have named it the everyday skirt because it basically is an everyday skirt. There's the little mohair ruffly trim at the bottom, which I think adds a really cute touch. And then I have the elastic in the waist. When I showed you this, it may have still been pale pink because this skirt started out pale pink. The whole plan was to knit a pale pink skirt. And do you remember if I told you this story, it was that I damaged the pale pink skirt while I was blocking it. So I blocked it with all of the stitch markers, those little light bulb ones going all down where I had made my increases. And after it was sitting in the water for a little while, it left rust marks on my beautiful pink skirt. And it was really sad. And I tried a bunch of things to fix it and they didn't work. They just seemed to make it worse. And then I just said, I'm going to over dye it because what else can I do, right? I'm going to over dye it with some black walnut. So I did. And most of the stains came out. You don't see them. I'd be very surprised if anyone could see them, especially when I was wearing it. So all in all, I was able to save the everyday knit skirt. So now this has just finished being, this just came back from the tech editor and it is now time for test knitting. So if you're interested in a cute little skirt that you can wear this fall, let me know. Reach out to me and you can be part of the test knit group and we'll have lots of fun with it. And I can give you many more details about the skirt then, but I do believe this took, and this is like a size medium, took about 3, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 3 skeins of fingering weight. This is just a sock yarn. And of course you'll need some elastic, not too much, and a little bit of mohair, whatever color you think would look cute as your trim. And that's it. I love wearing this. This is comfortable and it does not fall off no matter what because of the elastic waist, because I've heard that can be a real problem with skirts. Nope, with knit skirts rather. Not falling. Whoa. Why are you so loud? Wait, that's not how you twirl. Hold on. The last time I saw you, I believe this was probably halfway finished, so it was a hoe. Now it is a completely finished project, and this is my tank top in this wild and crazy green. You know, there's something I've learned over the years, and I dyed this myself, so I have no one to blame. I'm not that crazy about variegated yarns. I like them in socks. That's it. But, you know what? I had it, and I wanted to make another tank top, and it doesn't look nearly as hideous in person, but that variegation and pooling is craziness, right? It's wild. But you can see the front. I love that little feature. It's one of my favorite things. And then for the back, I thought it was going to run out, so I striped it with a different yarn, and I think it looks kind of cool, but it's not part of the pattern. It can be. The sides are also very sweet. They have this lace feature, which again, it gets lost in the variegation. I don't recommend it. I recommend that you maybe use a speckled yarn or a tonal, but not a variegated. I just think, yeah. But anyway, love it so much, and maybe next spring it'll become a pattern that I release. This is the 3rd version of this that I have knit already. Okay. I think it's time for a water break. I've been talking a lot. It's raining out. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but it has been raining all day, and it's going to be raining most of the day, and we really, really need rain. It has been so dry. In fact, it's considered a drought right now in New Hampshire. I know this because our well is drying up, so the well guy came and he told me. So we're very, very grateful for the rain right now. Is that everything? You know, I think it is. I think it is. I do have a couple other things, but I'm not going to show them right now. I don't want to do that to you. But let's move on to some whips. Although I know the t-shirt, the Cozy Cotton Tee, was a whip, but I kind of thought it went along with the other ones. So we'll start with this pair of socks. So I just started these socks yesterday, and I'll show you the yarn I'm using first. Paton's Kroy socks, which is a fabulous sock yarn. In this cute color. It's called Sweet Stripes. So yeah, this is, I'm sure you all know, this is a workhorse yarn. It's really good for socks. They will last. And I started this yesterday. I was just trying to make Charlie, my granddaughter, a pair of socks for her birthday because she requested a pair. And I wanted to start with a ruffle. I've never done that before. But anyway, I don't think these are going to come out right, and I'm probably going to have to tear them out. But this is what I have so far. So what I don't like, so you start out with twice as many stitches as you are going to need, and you purl a row, and then you knit a couple rows. I think it was like 5 rows that I decided to knit. And then you decrease rapidly, so you would knit 2 together across all the stitches so that you're back down to your normal number of stitches again. And then I knit a few more rows, and then I started my magic heel. These will be magic heel socks. So these are going to be shorty ruffle socks basically. But I don't like how the ruffle feels. It's like, I don't like the way that the sock feels. It's stiff. I don't know what it is, but it's bothering me. So I don't know if I just, once I block it, if this ruffle will look better. And if you have any experience with ruffle socks, please let me know if this is what happened to you. I'm using a US 1. However, I always break my double pointed needles, the bamboo ones, when they're US 1s. For some reason, they're just, or if they're zeros, obviously, too. But they just snap on me all the time. So I still have 3 left that are okay. 2 broke, and so I had to throw in an extra needle. So I had this US 0. No, not that one. Is that the 0? Yeah, it has to be this one. This is a 0. And so I'm just using this metal one because I know it won't break. But I realize that is probably making this tighter. And that might be what's going on, but I don't know. Because a lot of people, I think a lot of people use zeros for their socks, don't they? We'll see. It's all new to me. I've never knit a magic heel sock in a kid's size, so I'm trying to figure out numbers. I don't know if this is right because at first when I tried it on, it seemed like it was going to fit me. So who knows how this will turn out, but I do have 2 skeins of that Paton's Kroy. Here's the other one because this once was a sock that I tore out. So we'll see. I don't know if this is going to be anything that I can gift. Hopefully. We'll see. Okay, next is this scarf, which I showed you last time, and I have not gotten very far at all. You can see where my stitch marker is, but this is going to look really cool blocked out, I think. It's such a neat stitch. I really love this textured, how it sticks right out like that, but it's simple. There's the back. The back's real flat. But look at that stretch. I love it so much. So I'm using, and I know it's lame. Look at this. I've barely done any. But I am using Plotulop in this white color. And I am holding one strand single. So it's just a slow go. But I have time before I'm going to need a Plotulop scarf in my life, I think. At least until December. But I think it's so pretty. And I want to incorporate this stitch into other things because I like it so much. Yeah, so that's how I'm doing on that one. Not much to report. Using a ChiaoGoo interchangeable needles in US 4 3.5 millimeters. That's a whip. The next whip is another pair of socks. And look, I labeled them. It says Casey's Socks. That's my son's name. I couldn't help it. I started labeling plants, so I was like, oh, let me label a project bag. So these are also knit with Paton's Kroy sock, but a different color. This time we're working with green striped rag. I'm going to just take off my little scarf, so I'm getting quite warm. Hold on a second here. Let me cool down. I have my little fan. Turn that on for a minute. That's very helpful. Okay, so here is, I have one sock finished and one sock, and then the second sock has not even been cast on yet. So here is the finished sock for my son. Has a big cuff. When I started these socks, gosh, it was a couple years ago, I didn't know what I was doing. So you could see that in this giant cuff. And I would have definitely stopped maybe here, or at least continued till here. But no, silly. But I think they're really cool. They seem to be super like durable too, so I think that, because I don't know if he's knit worthy, we'll find out. But he requested a pair of socks, so he's getting a pair for Christmas. And for these I'm using a US 2 for some reason. And these are my metal ones that I cannot break, so that's good. But this is what I have left to knit with. Hopefully that's exactly enough to make the sock. If not, I do have a little bit of extra from the other skein, so hopefully that will be plenty. Alright, so that is another work in progress. I'm also working on a granny stripe blanket for him for Christmas as well, because he is the only one who hasn't gotten one. But I haven't worked on it a ton. In fact, I don't even know if I've, well, I'm sure I've worked on it a little bit, but not a lot. So, and his will be all in all of my minis, scraps, mini scraps, and this also is a granny stripe blanket, but I'm trying to use boy colors, or what I think of colors that he would like is what I should say. So yeah, not my color palette, but I don't think he would appreciate all of my pretty pinks and pastels. So here it is so far, and it's not that wide. It's like a It's like the size that I did my daughter's birthday throw. I just consider it a lap blanket. Yeah, so it's fun to work on. I don't mind working on crochet blankets at all. They're very, very mindless and quite enjoyable. And I have this big basket with quite a few darker colors in there. So that should make a really big blanket. Is that it? I hope so. Well, kind of, yeah. Well, I wanted to show you some of the, how do I start? All right, so I went to the barn the other day, the upstairs section of the barn, and I was looking for something. I can't remember what. I think it was my needle felting supplies. And I came across this bag, and I pulled it out, and it was filled with baby props. So my business before the Autumn Acorn was called Prop Shop, and I knit, I've told you this before, but I knit and crochet baby props for photographers to use, and it's a very successful business, and I loved it. But I got tired of it. I moved on to other things, but I found this basket of things that I had never sold, and they were just kind of abandoned, and I thought, well, now would be the time to either take them apart and use up the yarn, or gift them, or donate them, or something. They can't just sit there. So the first thing was this, and this was in the bag, but this is not a baby prop. I don't know why it was in the bag. This is a scarf. This is a very long, skinny scarf. But when I tried it on, I thought, my goodness, it's kind of pretty. Like, yeah, it might be skinny, and maybe it's too skinny, but like, I feel like it's a really, really pretty yarn. Oh, that looks terrible. Pay no mind to me. I cannot style scarves for the life of me. Hold on. We'll get it. So for this, I would probably choke myself. I would probably like double it up, right? Maybe double it up, and then you could even triple it up. It's so stretchy. Kind of like that other little one, only it would have a lot more. Yeah. Cute, right? Still have the ends. And I still have a little bit of the yarn left too. It was with the project, so. I love this yarn. This is, I'm going to take this off first because I really want you to be able to see what I'm talking about. But this yarn, look at that. Look how it's thin and then it gets all thick, and it looks like it's like color work or something. I don't know. It just, I love that effect that it has with all these different nubs. Look at that nub right there. So chunky and cool. So the yarn is by Universal Yarn. It's called Bamboo Bloom Handpaints. And I'll tell you what it's made of. This does have some acrylic in it. 48% rayon made from bamboo. Oh, that's good. That's natural. 44% wool, 8% acrylic. It's a bulky weight yarn. It had 154 meters in it, 3.5 ounces. No, 154 yards, 140 meters in 3.5 ounces or 100 grams. By Universal Yarn Incorporated. The color is kimono. So here's the label, which I'm not familiar with this particular yarn brand, but obviously I was then. I'm sure I just saw it and thought it looked pretty. But yeah, here it is. You can see that thick and thin, so it starts out super thin and then it gets so thick. This is how a lot of new spinners spin their yarn. This is how I, since I'm still new and haven't practiced in forever, there's another nub. And then it's thin for a long time, but yeah, all these pretty nubs are just so lovely. So I'd love to knit like a shawl with this yarn or something after seeing how pretty this scarf looks. So yeah, this I'm reclaiming this and going to be wearing it. And Joe was like, I think you should take it apart and make it fatter, but I don't think it's important because I'm probably never going to wear it just like that. And it's not so bad, right? I think it's cute. So that was one thing. And then I'll show you the rest, and I'll try not to take too long. But here's a little hat. This was knit with some merino thick and thin yarn again. I just love that. Super cute little bonnet. And then this is a, they were called, oh, I used to make these all the time, cocoon. A little cocoon, but look at this beautiful contrast color yarn. Can you see that gorgeousness? Again, it looks like color work, but you don't have to do any work. Just knit. And then I have the matching little hat. So cute. And the yarn is all fuzzy. Can you tell? Look at that fuzzy, I don't know what, eyelash stuff coming out. Oh, I love it so much. So fun. But I will probably have to take that apart and reuse that yarn. Then there were a bunch of these little headbands, and they each had a button. This one I decided to keep intact, and this blue one, so I'll give one to Blakey and one to Charlie. But these buttons were on some other ones that I decided to get rid of and keep the beautiful buttons. So these are handmade buttons that I made in Connecticut when I lived in Connecticut. And I'm so happy to have them back, so I can use them for something else. I also found this hat when I was searching, and I thought this might even work, you know, now. Let me just see if it even fits, though. I think the brim might be too small. Yeah, this is too small for me, but I'm thinking for the girls, one of my granddaughters might want a little slouchy hat. Then we have, oh, this, I remember when I made this cowl. This, again, is not a baby prop. Just something I was playing around with design and chunky yarn. Let's see how it looks. I feel like it looked like I was wearing a medical collar, and that's why I never did anything with it. But, yeah, look at me. I look like I'm in a brace. So, I mean, it's warm. I'm definitely going to wear it. I don't care how it looks. It's not terrible. It's got pretty cabling. I like it. I just wish maybe if it wasn't white, it wouldn't look like a hospital collar. What else do we have here? Oh, this cute little yellow one with a flower. Again, I must have really loved this thick and, what do you call it? Thick and thin slub yarn is another name for it. And the merino, it's so soft. It's perfect for babies. And then this was an interesting little hat. It's like a present. I don't know what you'd call it. It has this bow and this pretty little gem thing. But yeah, I mean, again, this is a prop, so you would only see it on the baby. It's just for the picture, and then you wouldn't, yeah. I don't know. That one's interesting. And lastly, this gorgeous little, oh my gosh, there's my old name. Look at that. Prop shop. Not very well done, but, you know, the font. But yeah, here's a little, this is just a photography blanket, so you would just lay the baby on it, and you get some nice shots of texture, and look at that pretty color on the trim. Isn't that nice? I love that. Oh, I even put a little label on it. So, yeah, that was fun. A little walk down memory lane is what I had, but I thought, well, I think it's time. This one I probably will give to the girls for their dolls, because it's really cute. Yeah, so a few of these will go to the girls, and the rest will probably be taken apart. I took apart one thing already. I can't remember if it was a hat. I think it was a hat, but I got this ball of merino slub yarn from it. So that's cool. I mean, that was so quick. I just took it up. You know, baby things are so quick to take apart. So let's move on to acquisitions, shall we? So my sister and I, during the month of, was it August or July? I think it was July. We went to some consignment stores, some thrift stores in Vermont, and I was able to find some hand-spun, hand-dyed wool. Just little, it was in a bag. Hold on, and I'll tell you what they dyed it with because I thought it was interesting. Assorted hand-spun Corriedale dyed with onion skin and bloodroot, which I hadn't heard of, dyeing with bloodroot. So I'll show you some of the beautiful bits and bobs that were in this bag. I just could not leave them there. I mean, they're hand spun and hand dyed naturally. Like, really? This one is so soft. Just love these colors. Look at this one. Look, and these little ones are all labeled with the spinner's initials. How cute. Like, I have no idea what I'll do with these, but I had to have them. They're just so special. Somebody spun these with their own hands and dyed them with their own hands, and I am just so happy to have them. There's some more over here, too. This color is so pretty. I don't know if that's from the bloodroot that made that gorgeous color, but oh my goodness, so happy that I found these. And there's probably about 100 grams in here total. So if nothing else, they will just sit in the basket and make me happy. So that was one thing I found. I also found a jar with a wicker cover, but I don't see that here. I must have put that somewhere else. Let me grab, hold on. I can show you. Okay, I have been collecting black-eyed Susans and putting them in these jars. First they're dried, and then in these jars, and oh my goodness, they make such pretty decorations. They just make me so happy every time I see them. So obviously these are for naturally dyeing, but I'm too attached right now to dye with them, so they're gonna have to wait till I'm not attached anymore. Maybe next year. But I'm trying to fill up a bunch of jars with all different flowers, and they bring me so much joy, and I think they're really gonna make me happy seeing them this winter when it's so white out and cold. So let's see, did I show you? I showed you the yarn, I showed you that, and oh, this basket. Yes, at one of the thrift stores they had this gorgeous basket. And it was $10. And I couldn't pass it up. But I thought it was just, you know, it's a cute basket. I didn't think much of it, but when I got home and showed my husband and we were looking at it, he's like, you know, it's stamped and everything, and it's from the Bradford Basket Company in Massachusetts, and it's handmade. I'm like, oh, so special. So yeah, I got a good deal. I think it's on the bottom. Yeah, it has his initials and everything. It says Bradford Basket Company, hand woven USA, and then his initials or her initials. But it's all like these, it has nails in it, and they're all, you know, hand nailed, and oh, just so happy with it. And it's filled up with a bunch of some naturally dyed yarns that I have been working on all summer. A lot of these were dyed in jars. They were solar dyed outside in the sun. Took advantage of the warm summer. They're so cool. This one was onion skin. Ooh, this one is also super cool. It's nubby. This base is nubby. I've got a green here that I got with daylilies that were orange. It's a really cool green. And this is another shade of green that I got. I think this was Staghorn Sumac. It's a lighter sage green. What else did we get? This was with choke cherries. Isn't that pretty? This is so interesting to me because it looked a lot pinker, but as it's sitting, it's this gorgeous tan with variegations, but it's like a pinky tan. This one was Brazil wood. Such a pretty pink. One of my favorite shades of pink because it's warm and brownish. Is that it? This one is Osage. It's just a muted yellow. Pretty green, another sage green. That was daylilies, the orange daylilies. And that's about it. This one's just a really pale pink. Peachy pink. Yeah, so anyway, thrilled to have this basket for holding all the things. That was such a sweet find. And the handles are perfect. Okay, then Joe and I took a trip to Portland, Maine last week. We wanted to go to a special seafood place that we like on the water, and then I wanted to check out some yarn shops. So we went to two. The first one we went to, I have been to before, and it's called Knitwit. Want to make sure I'm saying that right. Knitwit Yarn Shop. Yes. They are right there in Portland. And I went there with the intention of buying a few things. I wanted to buy some reference books, some knitting reference books. I had some other things on the list. I had a shawl pin on the list and just a couple other wool wash, just things like that. So I wasn't able to find everything I wanted, but they did have the shawl pin that I wanted. So here it is. And it's an acorn, and I love it. And it's by Katrinkles, who is a sweetheart. I took a class at Squam with her. It was the Caitlin Hunter class. So that's really fun. And I just love this. I think it's adorable. I can't wait to wear it with my shawls, to hold my shawls on, especially if they are a little bit lacy. And then I also got some wool wash. So I love the jasmine, the Eucalan jasmine. It is my favorite scent, and I will always buy it. It makes my knits smell heavenly. So yep, I got that and this. Actually, Joe bought me these, so that was really sweet. And then, but I didn't get any yarn or anything else. I was good, although I saw a skein by Manos del Uruguay, and it was their lace weight hand-painted yarn, and I fell in love and I wanted it so badly. I think it was like $30. I should have gotten it because I haven't stopped thinking about it. I've heard lace weight yarn is really soft, like unbelievably soft, but I had never really experienced it until that day. And oh, I just kept hugging it. I really want to go back and get it though because I loved it so much. I don't even know what I'd make. I said I wasn't going to buy any yarn. So then we went to the next shop, which was called Port Fiber. And when we walked in, it was so fun because everyone was sitting in a circle, guys and girls, spinning with their spinning wheels. And it was like walking into a home. It was lovely. Hi. Greeted us, and then the store owner was there, and she was so sweet. I think her name is Casey. And so yeah, I didn't have high expectations, but I ended up loving this store so much. So what I ended up getting was, and I was there again for a specific reason, because I knew they had needle felting and other felting and spinning supplies. So, and I've been wanting to needle felt some just little acorns and little mushrooms and just little tiny things. I've had the urge to do it since fall is coming. So the first thing I got there was this wool buddy. And I wasn't going to get this because I'm really cheap. It was like 20 bucks, but Joe was like, what are you going to just use the ugly foam all the time? This will bring you so much joy. He's right. This is just felt, wool felt all throughout. There's no like nasty foam or artificial plasticky chemical-y things. It's just, and I love it so much. So the wool buddy, if you are a needle felter, you need a wool buddy. They come in all different colors and they're just perfect. But yeah, for needle felting you need a surface that you're going to be working on. Otherwise you'll be jabbing things with your needles. So I also got needles while I was there. I got this set of 3 called Get a Grip Specialty Set. And they're not in there right now. I took them out of the little tubes. But each one has a different purpose. I won't go into all of that because I don't even know if you're into needle felting or not. But I'll show you what they look like. Here they are, and they have this really cool like grippy thing, which I've never used one with a grippy, and that helps so much. And oh, they're very sharp. And like I said, they all have a different like purpose or use. So I keep them in this cute little pouch with this little mushroom because I just thought they looked good together, you know, near each other. So, and then, oh, and I got, while I was there, she also had fiber, and I knew she had piece fleece fiber, and I'm a big fan of piece fleece. And when I saw their fiber compared to everyone else's, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I want right there. Because their fiber is heavenly. It's all like different colors and it just looks so heathered and cool. So I got this big chunk. Again, keep in mind that I'm making mushrooms and acorns, things like that. They only had a little bit of this chocolate brown, but I had to get that. And then they only had a little bit of this sort of foxy color. I don't know, it's redder, more reddish. Beautiful, right? They just look so natural. And that was that. Yeah, that was all I got there. Was it? No, it wasn't. That was all I got for needle felting. And I'll show you. I just took it out last night before bed and I decided to try a little bit. So I started off with this little mushroom. It's cute. It's wonky, but I love it. I am happy with how it turned out. I mean, I think it looks kind of natural because of the variegations in the yarns, in the roving. And here is the little acorn that I made. I gotta work on the top though, because it kind of looks like a nipple. Yeah. Fun, very enjoyable, and different than knitting. Something different to do with my hands. And also while there, I noticed they had some natural dyeing materials, which was so exciting. So I picked up some cochineal, which I was out of anyway, and some iron. There were a bunch that I wanted to get, that I had things I hadn't dyed with yet, but I had to, you know, I had to calm it down a little, keep it in check, so I did. Well, I think that is everything that I wanted to share with you today. I do hope you enjoyed this episode, or these 2 episodes if they end up being part 1 and part 2. It's been lovely chatting with you. I did want to do a giveaway next week, the next time that I podcast. So if you would like to enter that giveaway, all you have to do is be a subscriber. I'm going to be doing a Q&A the next time I podcast. So if you could, to enter, just ask a question of me in the comments and I will answer it on the next episode. And you can win a pattern, a free pattern. I'm going to be giving away 5, so there'll be 5 winners. So I really hope that you'll enter. I can't wait to see your questions. Or if you don't want to enter and you just want to say hi or tell me something you enjoyed about this episode or what you've been doing this summer, what you've been knitting, I absolutely love to read your comments and chat with you. All right, it's been great. Talk to you soon. Bye now.